Well, we have more on an RCMP officer's appearance at the mass casualty inquiry Tuesday. The commission banned the broadcast of Constable Greg Wiley's testimony, but what he had to say stirred strong reaction. CTV's Heidi Petracek has more.
For those who knew murder victim Susie Butlin, Constable Greg Wiley's testimony to the Mass Casualty Commission hit home. Wiley describing in detail a conversation he had with her when Butlin phoned about harassment from the man who would later kill her. A conversation in which Wiley said he offered help. "I offered to even go and visit the perpetrator in person," he said. She declined, and she just said it would likely stir him up or make matters worse. Femicide expert Linda McDonald knew Susie Butlin and says the testimony was telling.
I mean, when a person calls, they're desperate. They're not thinking straight. I think with his police wisdom, he could have intervened in a very different way.
But when it came to charges, Wiley says the texts she read to him over the phone weren't enough. Despite her prior accusation of sexual assault and upcoming peace bond hearing against her next-door neighbor. Wiley admitted he didn't take Butlin's official statement or get copies of the harassing texts. His notes didn't detail the conversation. For another femicide expert, it all shows the need for police to improve tracking of gender-based violence.
If there had been a red flag warning, then maybe Constable Wiley would have acted differently. I mean, we don't know.
And that's where it has to go beyond training the RCMP. They have to be held accountable.
Questions around the overall accountability of the RCMP have surfaced at the inquiry before. This law professor says the fact Wiley's testimony was banned from broadcast doesn't help.
Once again, we have an accommodation, a high-level accommodation being made for somebody who is a member of the RCMP.
An accommodation lawyers for families of those killed in the April 2020 tragedy still don't understand.
And then the companion criminal charges pending if anybody is to breach it, including family members. I mean, that leaves not a good taste in people's mouths.
Near the end of Wiley's testimony, Commissioner Leanne Fitch, a former police chief, said she felt troubled by some of what he said and how Wiley could remember some details so clearly but failed to recall the red flags raised about the denturist who would become a killer. And the transcript of Constable Wiley's testimony has been posted by the inquiry online and indicates he wrapped up his time there with a long statement of sorts, including criticism of the media for being, quote, sensationalist, something he said he was concerned about not for himself, but for those most affected by the tragedy. Todd.
Okay. Heidi Petracek covering the inquiry for us, the mass shooting inquiry. She's in the newsroom for us this evening. Thank you, Heidi.